So I'm gonna give you a quick parenting tip, right? For like when your kids are like, say your prayers, do this, say your, grace before you eat, and Dad, I'll just say it to myself. I'll just say it to myself. I'm like, okay, all right, say it to yourself. Now Trinity's pretty good. Trinity's always been pretty good. Never really had to like, did she really say a prayer? Like I know she kind of does. Tegan, on the other hand, would just be like, yeah, Dad, I said it, or I'm gonna say it, or close her head and, or close her eyes and bow her head and just, I don't know, probably think about her tablet or Roblox or whatever, right? So I'm like, all the time, I'm like, Teen, just say it out loud. And she's like, I don't want to say it out loud, Dad. I don't want to say it out loud. So I'm like, I don't want to force her to like be uncomfortable. So I'm like, okay. So like I usually say the prayer in the morning and when we go to school and for the meals and whatever, right? Like at that usually like I make sure that it gets said. And then one day I'm like, Tegan, did you say your grace? Did you say your prayer? And she's like, yep. I'm like, really? She's like, yep. I'm like, well, what did you pray for? What did you say? What did you talk to God about? And she like looked at me like, uh-oh. So she says, well, I thank God for waking me up. I thank God for the food. I thank God for mommy and daddy and this and that. And like she goes down this whole list. And I'm like, oh yeah. And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, what'd you say at the end? She's like, amen. I said, cool. So then, like a couple times later, I'm like, did you say a prayer to you? And she's like, yep. And I knew it was like 2 seconds. I'm like, there's no way. So I said, really, what'd you say? And she goes on this whole list. And I said, really, what'd you say at the end? She said, amen. I said, cool. So then after about the fourth or fifth time of me just like out of nowhere being like, oh, what'd you pray for? She looks at me, it's like, and I started laughing because she realized. She's like, Dad, you've been tricking me. I said, no, I haven't been tricking you. I said, but you weren't, I knew you weren't being honest with me. And when I asked you, I kind of forced you into saying your prayer. And then I said, what do you say at the end? And she said, Amen. I said, so indirectly, now this is my 6-year old. I said, indirectly now you've said your grace and you said your prayers and all these things that I knew in 2 seconds you couldn't have possibly said. She's like, Dad, how did you know? I said, I just know. I'm your father, right? It's, you know. So now to yesterday at church, this kid's like, hey, Dad, look at this is my favorite verse in the Bible. Hey, Dad, look, she's got her hand up. She's praising. We're like, if I would have never like thought of an alternative way to get her to like actually pray and actually start understanding, like, who knows what would have happened. But there's you don't have to just like there's so many different ways that you could get a kid to do what you want to do without like yelling, screaming, making them feel uncomfortable. Like things I had to learn over years. But um, that's your dad pro tip of the day, right? Like, or when they don't want to eat, you're like, it's not because you don't want to eat. You're not full. I know you're not full. You didn't like this little bit of food didn't make you full. It's because you can't eat it. And like, Dad, yes I can. I said, well, you can't eat it faster than I can eat mine, right? Until you like get them to like now it's a game, right? And then before you know it, they ate their whole plate, and then they're like, and you just keep doing like. There's so many ways to get them to do what you want them to do without like being a dick, I guess. Which I can do that pretty good too, but I try not to anymore. So that's it. That's your pro tip of the day, Dad. Sitting and spitting. I did go for a walk, but um, I don't know. That just kind of popped in my head, so I made a video about it. So that's all. Have a great day.